Chapter 32. On Board. Suddenly and all-encompassingly, I had a soundscape, octophonic at least. I could hear the horizon, sense clouds, hear a subsonic rumble from the sun, and over the horizon there were nodes of thoughts and talking, powerful and distinct individuals compressed into small, compact blotches across the invisible waters beyond the curvature of the earth. I listened entranced. The sources of the mental emanations were evenly spaced somehow. There were hundreds of the blotches, moving slowly and in synchrony. It was astounding. "It's a fleet." Fleet was in their borrowed vocabularies, but not in their bag of concepts. I visualized a high perspective on hundreds of sailing vessels, arrayed in disciplined order across the bounding main. I said to MIZ, speaking the words aloud, and accompanying them with as strong visualizations as I could manage, "Each source of what we hear must be from a ship. You know, that's a word for a vessel that can move on the surface of open ocean. Each is powered by sails, sheets of fabric that catch the wind and press the ship forward, as in this diagram." I concentrated on a simple vector graphic, wind pressing on the sail, the keel pressing on the water, and the resultant thrusting the ship forward. It was Engineering 101, and the Lady Lions understood it immediately. "They're evenly spaced from one another in a giant formation. I've never seen such a fleet," I said. Her hugeness asked the tough question almost immediately. "How do they stay on top of the water? We see great storms come from the sea, and the waves grow higher than trees." Her question used impressive visuals, including a serious wave crashing over a large tree it ripped from the coast. "I don't know," I said, doing my best stumped engineer shrug, "but somehow that very large fleet has stayed afloat. For how long depends on where they came from." A memory of an old woodcut in one of my design textbooks came unbidden, but welcome, into my mind. Polynesian dugouts with wide outrigger stabilizers, crossing from New Guinea to Guam or some damn place. They were rowed canoes. But these weren't canoes, and they weren't being rowed. Something about what the lionesses were hearing made sails as clear as day to me. Then I heard something else from these sailors through the lioness channel. Goodness, kindness, maturity. How in hell I got this impression is a mystery to me, but there it was, clear as glass, and completely convincing to me, the not-so-easy-to-convince guy. I had one last sweep of the fleet before the lionesses shut off the connection. I sensed no bad stuff, no malice, grudges, hatred. It bordered on the unbelievable, surrounding the totally incredible bit about being able to hear anything at all through lion telepathy, or that there was such a thing as lion telepathy. I guess I'm going soft on believing hoodoo, some engineer. "These are good people," I stated confidently. MIZ looked at me and cocked her head, just like Cubby does. "We do not know humans well enough to judge such things from the thoughts we hear. Explain," she sent in words. I could hear mental gears grinding among the other lionesses as they toyed with the vocabulary download from MIZ as we conversed. "I don't understand it either, truth be told," I replied. "I can't even understand the words of these people, and this is the first time I have ever heard human mental signals. Could be I'm totally off base. I just hear very good emotions in what you're channeling to me. There's no hint of bad stuff. No anger or jealousy or resentment, just patient, good humor, and a very upbeat slant on things. My judgment is good people." MIZ walked across the mossy area between us and nudged her huge head against my hips. Unnerving, this, but I stood my ground and resisted an almost uncontrollable urge to scratch behind her ears. Airedale owner reflexes, I guess. She made her friendly, still scary, growl, and said to the other lionesses, "I have learned his intuition is rather good." Wow! Cubby crawled from between my legs and trotted cautiously over to Hugeness. She lowered herself over her front legs in front of the Alpha, in what for an Airedale would be a play bow, but this was a bow of submission, I'm thinking. Hugeness ignored her for a full minute. No one in the Pride moved. Something serious going on, I thought. I sensed tension from MIZ. "Yes," said the giant lioness finally, looking down at the impertinent youngster. "Two Legs is a good male," said Cubby. I felt an excited flow of thoughts between the adults. That's it, I realized. Much of the discomfort I'd felt from the lionesses was more about me being male even than about me being a two-legger. Males are lions non grata, except when their fertilization services were needed. Big, strong, dumb, and mean they were, generally speaking. Again, as I realized that truth, I was curious about this asymmetrical distribution of traits between the lion genders. Got to think more on that. "So," said Hugeness as Cubby backed away before trotting back over to me and MIZ, "the voices from the Gulf is your symbol, are good two-leggers. What does it mean to us? Why were my senses so aroused that I called the sisters here?" I realized she was actually asking me. This would be by far the highest level of acceptance so far. You're asking me?" I said, feeling dumber than usual. There was a longish pause, and I had the distinct feeling all the lionesses were thinking something like, "Duh." I had a flash. I love flashes like this. I have 2 patents that came from this kind of flash. I felt the idea bounce around my flash assessment equipment. Just pro forma, you understand. Flashes are 24 karat most of the time, and I could feel MIZ noodling around the suite of ideas that comprise the flash. She seemed confused slightly. At least she didn't radiate the complete comprehension she usually had with my man thoughts. "I must try to show you where, when, I came from again. It's very hard, madam." I bowed to her Hugeness. "How many summers, cub and adult, have you seen, madam?" Using my numbers, she said, 27. "And you have how many summers left?" "With fortune, my mother lion had 49. "Say 50 into 110,000. I looked out over the hilly country we were in, a curling, quite narrow river weaving between small hills. I visualized with all my might, literally straining my brain, a line of 2,200 lionesses from here across distant hills and into the woods miles away. Each lion is 50 summers. Taste my numbers. 2,200 lions of summers, each being born as the one before dies. It is that far in summers to the time from which I came." It felt completely inadequate. How the hell do you try to convey 100+ centuries? "Why are you not dead?" asked Hugeness reasonably. I saw she understood the general concept, of course. "Or," spoke up another lioness, refining the question, "how are you even born?" They got it, for sure. Again I conjured up in my feeble brain an all senses recollection of going down into the superconducting stator, seeing the smoke or mist or whatever, then me just falling from the sky. At the same time I imagined a small man icon whizzing from the distant extreme of the line of lions to the first lion. There, time travel explained in lion psychic terms. Not something I was specifically prepared for at Texas A&M, but having the concept of icons helped. I heard the rumbling of soft lion growls, accompanied by another wordless burst between them, something like, "Can you believe this crap?" "And from that distant perspective I said to Hugeness, launching into the idea, "I would guess that your intuition was the force operating here. You felt a strong sense that this was super important. You did not doubt the feeling, so you called in the troops. Only you're not sure why this fleet of two-leggers is important and how that can even be so." I believe in that little speech I won her Hugeness over completely. Apparently I nailed it from her perspective. The relationship between Huge and me went up a notch. I had her back because she was right. She had to be right. To deny that would be like thinking a really impressive game-winning AI was wrong, when it won all the time. Super brain, I tell you.